It seems the match is entering its final seconds. Everyone in the stadium is getting ready to cheer in total victory. Except for you. Your job isn't done yet. I assume you're a janitor or a security guard who still has to keep moving, even though the team playing tonight is your favorite, even though you work at the stadium. But you can't enjoy the roller coaster climax of the match at all. Have you ever heard the saying that modern-day matches are no different from the death matches in the Colosseum? People cheering, feeling entertained by watching two sides try to survive in the middle of the field? The Gladiators? Oh, sorry, I wanted to comfort you, but I didn't say you were one of the gladiators fighting. If we have to make a comparison, you are a member of the Hypogeum staff. You are the staff member responsible for making sure the match runs according to the rundown. I really wanted to call you a gladiator runner, but if you type that title into a Google search bar, all that comes up are 21st century track athletes or a brand of off-road vehicles. I know, it doesn't sound as cool as a gladiator holding a sword and fighting a hungry lion, but believe me, your role is vital. History always records the name of the emperor who hosted the main event at the Colosseum, but if you weren't there, the emperor would lose face in front of the spectators. So hear me out. First, let's talk about your work environment. It's been 10 years since the Colosseum was built, and Emperor Domitian suddenly thought about adding something. Maybe some underground structures. Nope, not for military purposes. Although not impossible, it would be pretty ridiculous if an enemy bothered to go to the Colosseum just to fight in cramped rooms. This was purely for entertainment. Bloody gladiator fights were entertaining enough for Roman citizens. But what if we gave them special effects? Wouldn't that entertain the audience even more? So Emperor Domitian decided to create a hollow space beneath the arena floor, asking experts to turn it into 2 levels. This hollow space is called the Hypogeum. Each level of the Hypogeum has many corridors and dozens of vertical shafts. That big cavity was then covered with wooden boards and layered with sand, so the gladiator combat field was recreated. So where are the special effects? Well, remember those corridors and vertical shafts? Each corridor held cages, and the vertical shafts served to support elevators. When the fight began, a hungry lion would be guided toward that lift. The boards on the arena would open, and the lion would rise into the middle of the arena. Epic entrance, making the crowd cheer even louder. The good news from this construction was that there were new jobs. You, who might have previously just been a slave in a nobleman's house, or maybe a laborer at the fruit market, are now officially an employee filling the Hypogeum. Now you are a Colosseum event crew member who will never be in the spotlight or talked about, just like the event crews of the modern era. I mean, what do you expect? Behind spectacular gladiator fights, there are many parties working behind the scenes. The difference is, they will always get the credit and fame, while you are just trying to survive. From the start, you weren't a lanista training the gladiators. Sure, the Hypogeum corridors always led to the Ludus Magnus, where gladiators were trained. But again, you have your own job description, and it's impossible for you to go to the Ludus Magnus without a clear reason. You also aren't a doctor treating the wounds of gladiators who managed to survive. Medical handling and medicine aren't your specialty at all. Your job always involves muscles. Always muscles. When you finally became a worker in the Hypogeum, your first friend was darkness. Literally. Because that vast place full of corridors is an underground structure covered by boards, making you feel more like you're buried alive than working. Only a few torches on the walls light your path, along with a little midday sun through the gaps of the trapdoors. The temperature? Don't even ask. Sweat will always pour from your muscular body due to limited air circulation. In that darkness, you wait for your turn to pull the ropes that are part of the mechanism for the gladiator's epic appearance. You stand there continuously listening to the roars of wild beasts demanding to be released. Even when your shift ends and you get ready to rest, their roars still echo, as if they represent the screams of your own heart. The Colosseum opens again, a sign that the games are about to begin. You can hear the noise of the audience starting to fill the stands. Even being 40 feet underground, you can tell thousands of people have arrived. A trumpet sounds, followed by the opening by the announcer. In the Hypogeum, the engineer appears to ensure all mechanisms are safe and no malfunctions occur. You, along with hundreds of other workers, stand by in your respective positions. From another corridor come the gladiators, ready with shining weapons. From their muscular silhouettes, you can see whether they are fully prepared to fight, terrified, or walking with a heart full of vengeance. You can see their faces when they get on the lift, and you can only wonder what they are actually after. There are dozens of trapdoors under the Colosseum sand, and your station is one of them. The mechanism uses pulleys your engineers learned from Greek systems but developed further. It takes 8 grown men to pull that elevator rope, and one of them is tasked with opening the trapdoor when the elevator is about to reach the wooden ceiling. Is this an easy job? I wouldn't say so. There will always be manpower to operate it, but if one operator makes a mistake, whether pulling the rope weakly or being late to open the trapdoor, then that epic entrance will fail and disappoint the spectators who have been waiting. Is it a fun job? As a slave recruited to work underground, that seems like a rhetorical question. During the games, you only see dozens of men leave for the arena in good health, then return wounded. Most don't even return to the elevator you operate, not to mention when you deal with animals. Professional hunters bring lions, tigers, and even elephants to your workplace, and your job is to guide them to the arena. Your feelings are definitely mixed. There must always be a sense of fear that the wild beast will suddenly pounce on you through the elevator bars, or maybe suddenly jump and attack you from a gap in the corridor. At the same time, pity arises in your heart when you see those confused creatures being lifted toward the arena door. It's as if you can read their minds. What do you want to do to me? What is my fault that you are doing this? I just want to live. In that era, research on animals hadn't been done, but you surely know the feeling of suddenly facing tens of thousands of people whose cheers hurt your ears. Previously, you lived free, and today you have to stand in the middle of the arena, facing a man with a spear who is actually just as scared. Humans are indeed cruel. Those who have power act arbitrarily toward other species, even toward their fellow humans. You, who have lived long as a slave or in poverty, can only mourn your fate in the darkness of the Hypogeum. Confined, constantly working, and getting no pay. Protest is useless. The supply of slaves in Rome is huge, so if you are unable to work, there will always be someone ready to replace you. What matters is what is above the arena, not what is beneath it. Isn't that right? Even concerts in the modern era are the same. You only care about who performs on stage, not the person operating the lighting or the graphic designer of the poster. Anyway, besides gladiators and beasts, you also deliver props to the arena. For some reason, they ordered you to raise a tree onto the elevator. Seriously, you don't have the right to ask, so just do it. Maybe it's to add a dramatic scene. Maybe the gladiators up there can use the branches to fight. One thing is for sure, the engineer who designed the Hypogeum thought of everything. What matters is that the emperor is satisfied with the results, and the audience keeps cheering, waiting for wild beasts to emerge from underground. You just need to work, and keep working. In the end, you remain hidden. No one will remember your name, except for your fellow slaves and co-workers pulling the lift ropes. You realize that you will continue to be there as long as the matches are still running. For the rest of your life, while working under the darkness of the Hypogeum, freedom is just a dream. Sometimes you hope someone generous will free you from slave status, taking you out of the stuffy Hypogeum work environment. Maybe there are times you fantasize about being one of the spectators in the stands, not the poor human pulling a pulley rope so the fighters can appear in the arena. You could watch while eating snacks sold at the Colosseum, not slave food. But well, that's just a dream. A little hope, like a flicker of torchlight on the wall or sunlight in the gaps of the trapdoor. At least you're alive, right? Don't you remember the fate of the gladiators who were injured or even killed? Or the fierce lions and tigers who radiated sadness in their eyes because they became human entertainment after being locked up for days? Another bit of good news. Future historians will also realize your presence. For centuries, humans only focused on what was above the arena, but after excavations, it was finally discovered that there were people working hard 40 feet below it. Yep, that's pretty much what your life would be like today if we analogized it to the Roman era. I hope you feel a little motivated even though the world is indeed cruel. You might not feel the same euphoria as those watching live, but realize that without your presence, the match wouldn't be exciting. So, keep up the good work.